This is a tape on homosexual birthing. Why some people are born and they're homosexuals, or gay, or lesbians, and some people are not. I was at the library not too long ago trying to check on a different situation, and I ran across this book here that falls right into my line of thinking, and I'll read you a passage from it. Now, I have very poor eyesight. It's dark in here, so please bear with me for a minute. Scientists have not even come close to proving a genetic or biological cause for homosexuality. That's true. Scientists haven't, but I have. And what leans heavily on my discovery is, I'll read this one here and then I'll put the book down. Researchers theorize that sexual orientation is determined so early in a child's formation that it cannot be considered a choice. Well, I agree with that 100%. And now I'll tell you what I believe causes homosexuality. And you're going to tell me, oh, no, because you have your own ideas. Of course you do. Well, if you'll bear with me till the end of the tape, you may think, okay, he's got something there. I believe the homosexual and gay and lesbian conditions of a person is generated by the mother of the fetus while the fetus is in the belly. And that's what I believe. Now, don't plug me out, because I know 99.9% of you don't. And I've been touting this particular situation for over 50 years, and everybody says I'm crazy until recently. And we'll get along, and I'll tell you about that later also. But now I'd like to go back and explain something. When I went down to John, or whatever the hell that little runt's name is that runs Iran, came to the United States, he was asked if there were any homosexuals in Iran, and he said, no, there aren't. And the guy who asked the question laughed. I think that may have been Bill O'Reilly. And Letterman laughed, and Leno laughed. Jimmy Fallon laughed. Conan O'Brien probably laughed. Jimmy, they all had a big laugh over that one. That's impossible. No, it's not. But I got to wondering why a prime minister, a gentleman with such high esteem in his own country, would come here and answer that question and set him up for ridicule. And so I started reading and doing a little bit of detective work, and guess what? He said it because he believes it. And he believes it because it's true. Uh-oh. Now I got to prove that one, don't I? Okay. I ask around and so forth, and I run into a lady from the Mideast who knew their culture and Iranian culture and so forth. And I asked her if there were any homosexuals in Iran. And she said no. And of course I asked why. She said because women are so depressed in Iran that they all want a boy. So when they get pregnant, They don't say, oh, I wish I could have a girl or I wish I could have this. They just want a boy. So the women go through their pregnancy and they give birth and they have boys with no problem. The mother's mind matches the baby in the belly. Pardon me, I have terrible habits, but I can't get over them. I'm 82 years old. Mother's mind matches the baby in the belly and everything is fine. And she has a boy. It's just a normal lady birth that she joins the mother in this downgrading situation in their home. Why, that child isn't going to grow up to marry a man her father picks out for her. Her daddy tells her she can't go to school. He tells her that, or the whole bit. Well, everything is fine. No homosexuals, possibly no lesbians or very few lesbians. If a lady does say, oh, I wish I had a nice strong boy, and it happens to be a fetus in her belly, she might get a girl that thinks like a boy. Remember when they had an uprising in Iran several years ago, and the Home Guard was called out on the street? They had all these people in silver, shiny silver uniforms and black belts and black hats and black billy clubs beating the hell out of the men. And then they said most of the Home Guard are females. Okay, maybe that's one way they get their justice back. But generally they're downright. Why, a girl in Chicago not long ago went to Florida because her father wanted to marry a certain guy, and she wouldn't marry him, and she wouldn't go back home. She said her dad was killer using the Sharia law, or whatever the hell law it was, that the Iranians follow. Now, I don't know if she went back or not. I never followed that case. Pardon me. There are many cases like that you read about and hear about here in the United States, that they come here and try to follow their own laws, and the women are on the lower half of it. Why, over there a female even gets stoned if she don't do what her husband has to say. Therefore, when a gal gets pregnant, she doesn't want a girl to bring into a life like that. Okay. So, how does that transfer to us here in the United States? Well, long before Abdallah John came to town, I made the rounds, believing what I believe, that it's the mother's mind that forms the fetus, that educates the fetus of her sexual orientation. And I went to see prominent people, physicians, psychiatrists, but he said, oh, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. There's a doctor over at the John Hopkins Medical Unit, I think that was the place, that says that sexual orientation is formed after the baby is born. Oh my. They wouldn't talk to me. He's a professor. He publishes for the American Medical Journal. He sends us letters to update what his thing and his progress and everything. What are you? Oh, I'm a cook. Ha ha ha. Have a good day, sir. And I run that into many, many times, and I finally decided I'm not going to sell them. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to sell them on the idea to get people to listen. And then I find out that this guy from John Hopkins Center is being sued, upset. And I quick go out and buy his book, and I want to read his book of what he's writing to see what everybody's upset about. Well, it seemed that they were a set of twin boys, and almost directly after birth, they were going to castrate them. I mean, circumcise them, but the other word does fit in here. And they circumcised one, and they blotched the situation and castrated the other one. And that's a hard pill to swallow. I just hope that gentleman from John Hopkins Center wasn't in on that. But they made a little girl out of the other one. And he went to the family and said, "Oh, I'm a psychiatrist. You know, you should bring your children to me once a month, and I will check their progress and so forth to see that they are fine. Everything is working well. After all, you have an unusual case here." But he wanted to prove that sexuality was formed in the mind after birth. And boy, he had a little student here, a little boy that was just made a girl. So the parents took the little boys in, and he made his findings, and he wrote articles for the American Medical Journal, and sent pamphlets or whatever, letters out to his friends and telling them the upkeep and everything. And he would say when Janie come in, she played with the dolls and the doll houses and tea and little girls' games, and the boy come in and played with the shovels and the trucks and everything. And everything was just like he said. The sexuality of that little girl was formed after birth. So, the guy must have been an idiot, because the children grew up and learned how to read. And they read where he was making reports that little Janie played with her dolls. Janie didn't play with her dolls. She played with the trucks and the steam shovels and the baseballs and the bats and the gloves and everything else that the boys played with. And they put the doctor out of business. And I read the book, and he deserved to be out of business, because I read a book by someone else who described the plight of the two boys. And I went back to the people that I talked to before. By now, they were almost ancient old men. "Yeah, what can I do for you, Sonny?" Not that bad, but almost. And I said, I have got this theory that I've been roaming around in my mind and so forth, and tell them what it is. And, "Oh, get out of here. We're not ready for that." "What do you mean you're not ready for that?" "We just got rid of one clown who tried to prove homosexuality. We're not going to take on another one like you." Well, I never got anywhere at that time either. And I had moved. I had lived in Las Vegas by then. I was a widower twice. I was working up in Area 51. And I got to thinking and so forth. And when I retired, I had more time on my hands, and I thought about that, but not very hard, because I had failed several times at that. And pretty soon Abdama John makes a speech claiming there are no homosexuals in Iran, and I find out that there aren't through a friend of mine. And why? I just told you why a little while ago. So I wrote this pamphlet, produced 125 of them, and sent them around the country with my idea. I didn't put everything in the timeline quite yet because I didn't know how to do it. But I come up with my idea and I pointed out certain things. I was looking for someone to pick up the ball and carry it. Someone who had a voice, someone who could get on television and say, hey, guess what? I guess all my pamphlets hit the trash. I sent some to Elizabeth Hasselbeck when she was on The View. I sent one to Ben Stein because I admire him when he went to the colleges and he was talking about creation, and the colleges were batting him down with their theory on evolution. And I sent them to popular people. I sent one to Steve Ducey, to several reporters on Fox, to several reporters on other stations. Nothing. Nowhere. Nobody wanted to carry the torch. I was crazy. So I died. In Las Vegas, I died. My partner got home from work and I said, I'm dying. Take me to the hospital. I had called my clinic to get permission to go directly to the hospital. And he took me to the hospital, and along the way I said, here's a credit card. I credited the rest of my credit cards are at home, but here's a number. I want you to get $300 in cash and send my cat to my daughter in Texas when you have learned that I am dead. Oh, you're not going to die. Oh, yes, I am. I feel it. I feel everything along the way. I walked in the ER, and that's the last thing I remember. I don't know if I passed out, fainted, or what. But he stuck around, and he said, what should I do? They said, well, buddy, you can go home, and we'll call you. He said, well, what about him? They said, well, he's dead. He's dead, yeah, we'll call you when call the coroner to come get him. And he said, well, they said, we have to work on him. We have to, since he came through our doors, we have to do certain procedures. So he went home. They told him I was dead. And I suppose I was. They don't kid around with things like that in the hospital. But I woke up with 4, 5, 6, 8 people working on me. I don't know how many. I'm just a gaze. And they brought me back. And I was in ER 12 hours, in intensive care 24 hours. I moved to a private room, then a semi-private room, then a ward. And 10 days later, I called my roommate and I said, come get me. He said, where are you, heaven or hell? He told me you were dead. I said, I'm in the hospital, you asked, come and get me. So he came and got me, picked me up. And I'm as mellow as I can possibly be. I had just went through a traumatic experience. And I get in the truck and he says, I got bad news. I said, what, my cat? He said, no. He said, they told me you were dead. I said, yeah. He said, I cashed out all your credit cards. And I laughed. The only reason that I'm telling this part of the story is because anybody can say that they died. But I have a trail that before I did and since I did that can be followed. He said, they told me you were dead. So I said, I don't care. He said, you don't care? I said, no. I said, I live with you. I'm help pay your condo fee. I'm just not going to pay a complete condo fee. I'll pay you enough to get by, but I'm not going to pay a complete condo fee until I get all my money back good enough. And I'm sitting there thinking, why me? Why did they bring me back? So time goes on and I'm still thinking this and so forth. And the VA checks me over and I'm having trouble with my retinas. I seem to be losing my eyesight. And my daughter wants me down here in Houston, Texas, so she can keep an eye on me. Bless her heart. I have a wonderful, wonderful daughter, wonderful son-in-law. I came down here to the old folks' home. Nobody answered my pamphlet, so I wasn't going to get any return mail there. And I got to thinking about no homosexuals in Iran and our homosexual explosion right after the war. What is the difference? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Right after World War II and the Korean War, Johnny come marching home. And he was greeted with open arms, and he got married, and the people multiplied like they were supposed to, and the wives were all pregnant and everything, and they were getting ready, and the baby boom was coming, and it was in motion. And the mothers of the fetus said, "I want a girl. I don't want a boy that has to go off to war. I want a girl, I want a girl, I want a girl." Not all the mothers, just a pretty good percent of them. And when all these children were born, and if you laid them all out in a row, they all looked alike. A baby's a baby's a baby. You can't tell a homosexual baby from a straight baby. So they grow up. 3, 4 years old, mama takes him to the store to buy a toy, and they go over and pick out a toy. And Johnny picks out a doll and a doll house and some doll clothes and a tea set and so forth. And mama goes home and calls her sister and says, "Oh, isn't it cute? Johnny wants to be a family man, and he's looking to see how he can build a family already." Yeah, right. And a lot of children did things that their mothers made excuses for because they didn't know what happened. Little kid never said there, "Hey, mommy, I'm gay." They didn't know what happened, so they made excuses along the way. Remember, every mother loves their baby, and every baby loves their mother. If every baby didn't love their mother, there would be no gay people. So, in the beginning, they all loved their mother. There may be personality splits later on in life that I don't know about, but that's neither here nor there. I'm talking about the birth and the growth. So anyway, little Johnny goes off to school, and he's in the 3rd or 4th grade, and the teacher says, "Okay, kids, we're going to play a game. Everybody get in a circle. Everybody join hands." And little Johnny takes Jimmy's hand over here and Ann's hand over here, and he likes the way and the sensation he gets when he holds Jimmy's hand. And he squeezes Jimmy's hand, and maybe Jimmy squeezes back, not knowing why Johnny squeezed his hand, but there's a little signal there. And he don't pay too much attention to Ann. He gonna pay attention to Jimmy over here because he likes Jimmy. Well, they go through the session and everything, and Johnny knows that he likes Jimmy. He doesn't run home and say, "Hey, Ma, guess what I learned about myself today?" No, I don't think so. But as time goes on, Johnny begins to know that he likes to hold hands with males, not females. And as he grows up to get a girlfriend or to look for a companion, boys always look for girls. Wow, but Johnny's not looking for a girl. He's looking out of the corner of his eyes, and the people like him. But me explain that if I have to, and I'm going to. You have a homosexual man who the mother said, I want a girl, I want a girl, I want a girl. So she gets a man, a male, that has the sexual orientation of a female. Now, I don't know how much further that goes back into the brain, but some people it goes back further, some people it's the sexual orientation. I don't know. I'm a cook, but I got you this far, stick with me. So now when he's looking for a mate, he's got the sexual orientation of a female. What is he looking for? What do girls like? Boys. So he finds another boy who's looking back at him. Okay. He's not satisfied with any of the girls who are got around. So he mates up and becomes friend with another boy. Maybe there's a whole group of them. Maybe they had joined gangs and so forth at this time. I'm not sure of that. You got a girl who grows up, and boy, some of these lesbian women are stunning. I'll tell you, I've made passes at many of them not knowing. Some of them have just turned around and said, sorry, I'm a lesbian, and others have just brushed me off like I'm nothing, which I am in some cases, but that's okay. They grow up, they have the sexual orientation of a man. And what does a man look for when he looks for a mate? A female. So this beautiful structured lady is looking through the mind of a man and a female. And she finds one and they become friendly. Now, Johnny knows that he's different. He knew he was different for a long while. He may not have told his parents. I can't imagine what those scenes were like all over the country at that time. But they go off and they go to college and they form different groups of people and meet different people and so forth. And in June 28th, 1969, at the Stonewall Inn in New York City, the gays were having a party and it was raided by the police and they clashed. There was a big fight. And it hit the newspapers and it hit the news and it hit the television and everything. And that is basically the first time America woke up when they read their morning papers and they said, where in the hell did all these Indians come from? No, that was George Custer, his last death. Where in the hell did all these homosexuals come from? And they were upon us. They formed clubs and groups and they had parades and they had picnics and they were an identity to themselves. Now, people looked at them as different, and I don't know, I can't surmise why some of them dressed up so insane. But I guess they said if they're going to look at me, if I'm different, I'll be different. I don't know. There was no need for that. There's very little of that today. A very minute part of the homosexual and gay people are ostentatious about it. But you have your, no, from when I said the baby boom started, 1947, 48, 49, 50, 51. In 1969, those people were 20 years old. They should have been at that bar. And you have your birth, the reason of the birth, the reason of the gay people, and they're out coming. That's it. Now, if you don't want to believe me, go away, but other people can listen to the balance of this. I had started this particular situation here down at the old folks' home. I'm living on. My daughter is so good to me, and my son-in-law, and they will come by and stock my icebox and anything else you need. You need any cash there? What do you need there? What do you need there? Go away. I didn't raise you to support me. I'm fine. I've got my pension and my Social Security. So I saved up to buy a computer. After the computer, then I had to buy the internet, and to get the internet working, I had to buy something called a module or something that cost $86. And then I had to take computer lessons to learn how to run this damn thing. So that's where I'm at now. That is a story of why and how gays are born. The modern lady today who gets pregnant should never say, I want a boy or I want a girl. She should say, I want a healthy baby. And I truthfully believe she even must watch herself when she's pregnant. And she doesn't say she wants a healthy baby, but she's walking through a department store and she goes by the dress department and stops and says, oh, if I could only have a child. Oh, the dresses are so cute. Maybe a girl. Oh, never mind. But those babies don't sleep. They hear every wish, everything you've got coming. Some of the babies in the belly don't become full-blood homosexuals. Some of them just become cross-dressers because mommy's walking through the department store and said, oh, if I only had a girl, oh, I could dress her up so cute. And that baby disregards all the other crap, and he's pretty straight, except for the fact when he gets to be 16, 17 years old, mama finds him in a dress. It's all possible through the mind. Now I'm just surmising, but it's all there. The problem with my theory, and I talked to a nurse about this yesterday, and she said, and I said, you know, the problem with it is the Chinese have so many people. They'll go around and gather up pregnant women and sit there and tell them what they should pray for and wish for and work for, and then watch the outgrow of them children and see how they come out. I said, the problem is somebody's going to find out that you can educate children through the mind. She says, I believe the Muslims are doing that now. So help me God, this come out of her. She says, I believe the Muslims are doing that now. She said, you can't get a child that young to hate us in 8 years. It's got to be inborn. That's one bad ramification right there. But every person, every young person should listen to what I have to say on don't prefer a boy, don't prefer a girl, prefer a healthy baby. Now, I said 40 years, and I was 82. It's been 60 years since this first hit my idea, and it's been that long to get me on this video. But I was down at the hospital. I talk about this all the time with who I'm with. It's on my mind. I believe it's a great discovery. Hell, I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for this. Ha ha ha. Maybe that'd help me with contacting people, get it going. I don't know. I I was at the Veterans Hospital talking with the guy because I talk to everybody. People here at the old folks' home see me coming, they turn and go the other way. I was talking to him about this, and some lady was leaning over, listening, obviously listening. I said, "You have a problem, lady?" She said, "Oh no." She said, "I believe with everything. I believe everything you say." Could have knocked me over with a feather. Here I am over 50 years trying to get somebody to believe me, and here's a stranger in a hospital telling me she believes with every word I'm talking about. My own brother thinks I'm nuts. I don't take this up with my daughter because I'm afraid she'll take me here and put me in a place with bars on it. Everybody thinks I'm nuts. But you just heard my presentation, and you know different. Anyway, she said, "No, no, I believe with everything you say." I said, "Why?" She says, "I have a homosexual daughter, 15 years old." I said, "Well, that's not in the timeline that I am talking about." She says, "It's in the same area. It hasn't changed since then." She said, "My doctor told me I was going to have a boy, just like you talked about." And I said, "Boy, boy, boy, boy." And I had a girl who was a homosexual, and I knew it when she was very young. I said, "You know, it's not your fault." She says, "Oh, I know that." I said, "Someday she's going to bring home a girlfriend." She said, "Already has." I'm okay with that too. She said, "My daughter and I have a very, very close, good relationship. She knows what went wrong, and I know what went wrong. And it wasn't my fault." Well, she gave me her name and that. I'm not going to use it because I forgot it, to tell you the truth, but I wouldn't use it anyway without her permission. But if I saw her again, I'd know her. I'd know her in a minute. Then, a few days later, I run into a nurse. I won't tell you how, but I get a lot of medical people coming in and out of my house. And I'm telling my story, and she says, "Well, that tells me a lot." Whoops. What tells you a lot? Well, I have a 3-year-old son. Is he homosexual? No. Then what have I told you? She said, "Well," she said, "I'm a nurse. You know that. And for the first 3 months I was pregnant, I wanted a girl. And I took care of myself because I didn't need to go to a doctor. I'm a nurse. I knew what to do." She said, "I went to the doctor and he gave me one of these, I guess, ultrasound, or I don't know what she called it, but tests. And he told me, you're going to have a boy." And I did a switch. "Hey, I want you, little fella. You better be a boy when you come out of me. And you better be all boy to satisfy your mama." And she switched and she talked to that fetus like he was a boy. And when he was born, everything was fine. When he was 3 years old, he had real long hair, like little boys do. You know, the mothers don't want to ever give their kid the first haircut. Well, that's dramatic. But she tried to braid it. He said, "No, no, not me, not me, not me." Not her. Where did he get that? So she discovered that everything feminine that she tried to do with him, not me, not me, not me, not me. She said, I know how to handle him because of what he was and what he is. But he's not a homosexual, he's all boy. That's number two. Falls in line with what I'm saying. Then a lady knocks on my door. I open the door and I see a familiar face, but I have no idea who it is. I know she lives here because I see her around. And she says, may I come in? I said, you don't have an umbrella or purse, do you? She said, no, I got a wheel walker. I'll leave it out here. Oh, okay. Come on in. I didn't want to get hit with an umbrella and purse again. Don't you tell me I'm my son's problem. I've been through that years ago. Anyway, she said, I heard you on the bus. I said, oh, really? I said, I wear a hearing aid, and when there's bus noise, I have to project my voice loud because I don't know if the person can hear me over all the noise or not. So I don't know how loud I'm speaking. She said, well, I heard what you had to say, and I want to tell you that I have two fine boys, and I got pregnant, and I want a girl. She said, oh, I want a girl so bad. I want a girl to teach to sew. I want a girl to take the dancing lessons. I want a girl to learn how to shop and so forth. I want a girl. She said, I got a boy. I said, I didn't know what was wrong with him until you said on the bus that they have the mind of the other gender. And all of that fell in place. But my husband and I didn't know what was wrong, and we couldn't accept this different child. His brothers knew it. His brothers knew it before we knew it. And I said, and she said, and at 17 years old, he left home and I haven't seen him since. I said, oh my, how old is he now? Well, he's in his early 30s. Wow. Okay. Because this lady, she looked too young to even live here, but I guess she was. She was old enough. Some of them really fully, I'll tell you. I go head over heels with some gal who's 86 years old. She is a knockout. But other than that, she said, my husband couldn't take it at all. She said, when I heard you on the bus, she said, I knew why, and I knew I did it. She said, nobody ever told me it was my fault. I said, no. I said, you did it, but it's not your fault. It's the result of what you did, but you didn't know what you were doing, and you cannot be faulted for it. Well, that's a nice way to put it. She said, I got his phone number from one of my other sons, and I called him. And we talked on the phone. And we cried. And we're going to go out to lunch soon. And we're going to meet. She said, I just come by to thank you. She said, and please keep this confidential. She said, there's too much idle gossip that goes on in this building. I said, tell me about it. I know. So she left. And here I talk with everybody I can, and I happen to run into Miss Goody Two Shoes, and I'm telling, oh, God did that to the parents. God made the parents. The parents did something wrong, and God is punishing them. No, 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 no. God, my God, does not punish innocent people. And the mothers and fathers of these children are innocent. They made a mistake, but they didn't break the 10 Commandments. They're innocent. They did what they were supposed to do. They multiplied. And they made a mistake. So don't come throwing Bible passages at me. Write it down and bring it back and let me sit there and dwell on it. And she never did write it down. She never did come back. But I should have asked her the question I usually ask Bible goers, people who quote the Bible at me, because all down the line, people have quoted the Bible. And I would turn and say, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, what's that got to do with it? Well, you read the Bible. It's in your Bible. Oh, it is not. Yes, it is. On the fourth day, he said, let them go down and multiply. That makes the chicken before the egg. Now, if you're only going to pick pieces of your Bible out that you want to come at me and prove me wrong, go away. Because as far as I'm concerned, you're gone with the wind. And I pay no more attention to them. What does gone with the wind mean to me? The last word of Clark Abel. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I don't care what they throw at me. I am correct. Now, if you made it this far, you know any young people who are going to get pregnant or are going to grow up and get pregnant and are going to have children, because that's where our population expands. So everybody knows somebody. Tell them to tune in and watch Howie. Tell them to think about, well, when I wrote my other book, I wrote a book. I started a book in 1988. I can't find it here. I gotta show it to you. In 1988. I had it published in, I had it copyrighted in 1999. I printed it, I'm sorry, 1988. I started it. I had it copyrighted in 1989. I had it printed in 1990, and I distributed copies of it in 1991. What I just told you about the mind and the belly, that's in the book. I sold that book for $29.95, and I heard one sold on eBay for $500. One sold on Amazon for $125. I see one is The Alien Within Me by Lee Howard Zash is now on Amazon or something for $49. I had to have a friend send me a copy because I didn't have a copy. But it's in the book. I just want to mention that's how far back that I go in all of this progress here, how long I've been with it. Well, you've probably been with your idea for a long time. But can you tell me why? And can you tell me how? And I'll sit down and listen to you for as long as you want to talk. But I want you to tell me why and how in the first 5 minutes that we talk, because I don't want to waste 3 hours on something you can't prove. In the meantime, have all the young people you know watch this tape. Maybe we can put a stop to homosexual birthing. And this book here has got a lot of written by a lot of homosexuals. There's some people in it that wrote in it that aren't homosexuals. I don't think they were, but I still don't think they are. I'm sure that they would be all for stopping homosexual birthing because they don't want anybody to grow up in a situation like they've had to grow up in. And they don't want to see parents hurt the way their parents were hurt when they were first told. So, have people tune in and watch Lee's Law. That's what I have in my book. I have several things that I figure out and I say, that's Lee's Law. I think I quote Lee's Law 3 times in my book. So tell them, you follow Lee's Law and your baby will be all right. And in the meantime, God bless America. And remember, if you're only 5 minutes early for work, you're already too late. And I thank you.